Hello everybody, so I want to make a video explaining something that a lot of people might not like. A lot of you may disagree with this one, but I'm gonna explain some stuff about HE washers and anyways, what I want to point out is I've seen a lot of washer cycles, videos, real life, lots of different types of washers. Most of them are HE washers like these with the short, whatever you want to call it. I always thought it was an agitator, but that's just if it's tall like this. This one's a short little impeller washer, if you will. And a lot of them are like that nowadays, and they'll make ones where you can remove they'll have an agitator that you can remove and blah blah blah, but they don't agitate like the old school washers. I think they're direct drives, but I don't know for sure. I always forget. Now I grew up when I was really little. It's not like my whole childhood I grew up with the old school washers, but when I was really little we had some. My parents had been divorced, so at my dad's house we had a 1997 GE washer, and it was like an old school, and it was like a really loud one. It was really cool. Sometimes I was scared of it. It would go rumble, 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 and it would make all these sounds, and it would go like this, and it would go rumble, 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 and then it would, fill up to the top, and you had the little like, you know what I mean, instead of the little jingle tunes and all that. And then we had an old dryer too that went with it because the house was built in 1997, just like this one. It's just down the street. And it probably lasted, well, until like 2015. 1997 and 2015. One day we started it and it filled up and just overflowed and flooded the whole laundry room. And this was back in like 2014, 2015. And my dad got mad, so we got a new, I don't know what he did, but I was eating dinner, and it was just one of those days. So we had ordered a new washer, but by 2015, I don't think they made the old school washers anymore now. They're still around, but they didn't make them anymore. So we went to Lowe's and got a Whirlpool, and it also had a tall agitator, but it didn't do the rumble, rumble, rumble. It made like a duck sound. It was like a, it was a Whirlpool. I think it was a 2014, now that I think about it. It was like a 2014 something Whirlpool, which I've seen videos of, and they do okay. But anyways, I've grown up with those washers, the old school ones, and even at my mom's house when I was really little, before my parents had even divorced, we had some kind of Amana washer. I think that's what it was, an Amana washer. I think it's a Whirlpool, and it had gone rumble, 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 and my mom had gotten rid of that one because when she had worked she had really, really, really delicate fabric, and she said, this is what she told me, and this is when I was like 3, so I wasn't old enough to realize that maybe she was wrong. But she was like, oh, I don't like the old school washers with the tall agitators because they tear your clothes apart and blah blah blah. And I had clothes that would just tear apart in them several times. I don't know what cycle she used. I'm sure she used the delicate. She doesn't remember. I've talked to her about this, but I don't know. I know with those washers you can manually do how full you want it and the cycle. But I don't know if she did delicate cycle and low water level or high level of water level, but all I know is if you have an old school washer, they do agitate a lot rougher than these ones here. So if you have really delicate clothing, you'll want to use the delicate cycle, but don't use low water level because it has the little tall agitator and then the fins at the bottom that do this, and then the tall agitator rotates, and then it will not be good for the delicate clothes because it will be right here instead of all like this going and turning over. But anyways, yeah, so I don't know, but she had gotten a Whirlpool Cabrio. These were really, I liked them. I loved the Whirlpool Cabrio washer. Now there's several different kinds. The one we had I had just found this out. I mean, I knew that it had this really unique sound with the motor, but I guess it was a Fisher and Paykel motor. The same ones in a Fisher and Paykel washer. It was just such a unique sound, brings back so many memories, and I just love that sound that it made whenever it would spin. It was just so cool. But one thing I want to mention about HE washers is that most of them are bad. Most of them suck. A lot of them are just terrible. I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of them just really suck. They're pointless, they're terrible, they do a terrible job, they don't fill up worth a crap. But there's a couple of them that don't, and this is one of them. Now, first, before I mention anything, this is just such a great washer, and this is such a great dryer. But I want to say that they still don't make them like they used to. This washer is like probably 8 or 9 years old, and it's already starting to fail. The bearings are starting to go bad. It starts to stink. No matter how many times I clean it, if I clean it daily with the clean washer cycle there, it will still stink. And then it kind of just fades away after a while. I don't know. It used to not do that. The bearings used to be very quiet, and now they're loud, and it's just loud, and it's more off balance, more easier. It's just sad. If they were made better, you know, because older washers could last 30 years. At the McDonald's I work at, they have this 1980 something. I'm just gonna assume 1988 or 1987. It's the Whirlpool Direct Drive. And it's like just a really good one. It's like the 2-speed one, and it's 2025 and that thing's still going. It does have that little spin problem. It sounds like a weird sound when it spins. I don't remember what it was, but somebody had commented. I appreciate that. Now I don't know if they're gonna fix it, because McDonald's that I work at has a lot of problems, and the drain with the sink is clogged all the time, so you just have to fix that because people pour grease down it for some reason. I don't know why. But about the HE washers, yeah, not all of them suck. Most of them suck. I'll be honest, a lot of them really are terrible. Because I've seen a bunch of them. You put the clothes in, and then it'll do all this like fancy little like, let's see how much clothes in here. It'll like spin, and then it'll go this way and this way, and just spin, and then it will just do all this other crap. And that's obviously it sensing, but it doesn't need to do it all like special and like take 15 minutes to do so. And then it'll take 15 minutes to sense the clothing in there, and then it'll fill up like this much, like so that much when the clothing is up to here. And so the clothes are like wet but not in water, and so you just see like the agitating. It's just terrible. And then it will, you know, it'll fill up a little bit, and then it'll agitate, and then it will take all this sweet time to just spin more than it washes. Like it'll drain, and then it'll spin and spin and spin, and then it'll go really fast, and then it'll slow down, and then it'll fill up for rinse. And same thing, it just spends more time spinning than it does washing. But this GE washer, I'm gonna be honest, it's really, I know it's an HE washer, but it does a really good job when it comes to cleaning. When you turn it on and do the cycle, all the cycles on here except for bulky items and basket clean. Yeah, bulky items and basket clean. All the cycles, it'll do a little sensing thing, but it takes like a minute, and then it will fill, and it fills to a decent amount. So if I were to put clothing up to here, it would fill about up to here, and it would turn it over. And not only that, but it has a recirculation pump over here that shoots water out on the clothes on top for 4 minutes, and it's off for 4 minutes, and it's back on for 4 minutes while it's washing. It will just, so the clothes on top, even if they're not completely under the water, but they're in the water, they'll still be getting water from the bottom sprayed on top of them. And it's just a better way of cleaning. And it focuses more on washing than anything else. I will be honest, it does lack on the rinse a little bit. And basically, the color's the normal cycle. Takes 38 minutes if everything's default. Sometimes even less. It will do, you know, you can select all that. And this will obviously make it go longer. And that too. And you know, all these other options. If you do fabric softener, it will have you do a deep rinse, and instead of doing a spray rinse, it will fill up. But one of the other things about this washer, because obviously, you know, it doesn't rotate while it fills. A lot of them will rotate while they're filling up, and then they'll take forever to fill up. This one does not rotate while it fills. It will sense a couple times, and it takes like a minute or two. Then it will fill up. Doesn't rotate at all, just fills up like an old school washer until it gets to the level it needs to. And it does good. And then it will wash for like 80% of the cycle. Then it will drain, spin, do like a regular spin, and then it'll slow down. Now, the one thing that does suck about these, and it's just to help save, I don't know, energy or whatever, it doesn't have brakes that slow it down like the old school washers. It won't go. It will slow down at its own pace. So like for example, you spin it, and when it slows down, it just slows down at its own little like speed, rather than it being stopped. So that takes forever. That takes like 3 minutes usually. If it's at the final spin speed, it will go from there, and by 3 minutes it's usually stopped. But I don't care, as long as the clothes are dry, and they are. Or damp or whatever. But, you know, when you do the bulky item cycle or the basket clean cycle, a lot of other HE washers will fill up to here. This one only fills up to about here. Like, there's no way it will go higher than here. It always maxes out here. But it still fits everything. I got huge blankets in here, a bunch of them, and it will fill up to here, and they're still completely turning over. They're in the water. It does good, and it still has the recirculation pump here. And then let's say you want every cycle. I think every cycle except for the normal and casuals. Let's say you want to do like a full load of laundry. You know it's going to be a huge load, and you hit the deep fill button. Obviously it won't let you with the normal. It will with the casuals. The normal though it won't, or the colors or whatever. But yeah, first thing I want to mention about this deep fill button. Let's say I had a big load of casual fabrics, right? So I put them in there and I hit the deep fill button. Okay, it's on. You heard that little sound. But that doesn't mean it's gonna fill up to here. You can make it fill up to here though, on the casual cycle. I have yet to make a video of that. Sometimes I wash shoes or whatever, right? And I don't want those to be on a spin, and I don't want them to be at the very bottom getting beat up by the agitator. I want them to float at the top and get sprayed on and washed. And so what I do is I'll go on to the heavy duty cycle, and then, you know, you hold that button for 3 seconds. Makes a little different sound. Now, you hold it for 3 seconds, it will fill up to here, no questions asked. It will still sense, but it will act like the bulky item cycle. It'll fill up to here. And it'll even agitate almost like the bulky item cycle, because if the water's higher, you have to agitate more to get the stuff to turn around and to turn over. And so it does. And so if you press and hold the deep fill button, it will fill up like, you know, like a bulky cycle. And so I've done that for my shoes, and then I'll put the no spin on because I don't want it to spin, because it get off balance or something, I don't know. But like I said, other HE washers, they suck, and they'll take 15 minutes sensing, and then they'll wash for like 20 minutes, and then they'll spin for another 50, and then rinse, and blah blah blah. And they'll do all this rotating while it spins, or it'll do like doo-doo or whatever, I don't know. And this weird other crap. This one gets the job done. You start it, it senses, it spins, it fills, and then it washes. And it has so many different agitations and water levels depending on the cycle. And then it drains, spins, rinses, spins, and then it's done. Most of the cycles, the longest cycle you can have on here with the default settings is 71 minutes. That's pretty short for the longest cycle with default settings. Most washers, their longest cycle is 3 hours or 2 hours with default settings. And if you add like extra stuff like extra rinse or stain removal, it'll take like 4 hours with their longest cycle. Like my mom's Bosch washer, for example, the baby care cycle takes 4 hours. Well, it takes 3 hours, and then you punt. If you were to do an extra rinse, a stain removal, and all this other crap, it'll take 4.5 hours. It's crazy. This one, it is possible to make it do an hour and a little over an hour and a half. I had washed Lexi, our dog, her blanket because she had an accident. So I did heavy duty with a stain cycle. I did the blood stain because that one's for like, you know, that kind of stuff. Then I did an extra heavy deep rinse, but I wanted that normal, and then did extra rinse. It will say 2 hours. It's not really 2 hours. It just counts down, it gets to 99, then it'll count down. That's about an hour and 40 minutes. But you know, that's the longest possible thing you can get on here is an hour and 45 minutes. But that's what I wanted to mention. Yeah, it has those little jingles. I think they're cool. Some people don't like them, but I think they're cool. But that's just an example of how not all HE washers suck. A lot of them do, but this one just doesn't. Yes, I do agree that they are not made to last. No matter what. They will fail on you, some in 2 years, some in 8 years. Now the reason for that, this is what catches people off guard. People will be like, oh, I bought a Whirlpool Cabrio and it lasted 1 year. Never buy a Whirlpool Cabrio, it will only last you 1 or 2 years. Well, the problem with that saying is that, for example, say I bake like 12 cookies, right? And all 12 cookies, they were looking good, and they come out of the oven, one's crumbled or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, or you grow 50 apples on a tree. Not all 50 apples are gonna be 100% good. They're not gonna be all sweet. Not all of them are gonna be, you know, red. Not all of them are gonna be, you know what I mean? They're not gonna be perfect. So when people make these washers, and I don't know how the heck they do them, I'm assuming in factories, you get like a batch of like 20,000 washers or whatever, or 1,000 washers. Not all 1,000 are gonna last 8 years. Not all 1,000 are gonna last 10 years. There's gonna be some that last 2 years. There's gonna be some that last 5 years. All these numbers are way too low for my liking. I wish they lasted 80 years, like a lifetime, but they don't. Not like the old school washers. So that's one thing that sucks about these, but not all of them. And this is with everything, appliances especially. But this is with everything. Not all of them are gonna last, 10 years. You can get a batch of them. Some of them people happen to buy just last like 2 years, and it's just unfortunate. And I feel like they should get their money back. I don't know how it works, but anyway, that is the video I wanted to make. Thank you for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed.